Welcome back, gamers. What's new today? What am I playing right now? Plants vs. Zombies Garden Warfare 2. Now this crept upon me out of nowhere and I just had to play this game because I really enjoyed the original and people still play the original. Wasn't expecting it, forgot about the release date, and then jumped right into it, and boy was I surprised. This game is still as fun as ever with a lot of new stuff in it. Now, first things first, what is Plant vs. Zombies Garden Warfare 2? If you haven't played the original, it is a third-person shooter based on a very popular tower defense game back in the days where the plants are defending against the zombies. Now, the game has certainly gone a long way since the tower defense days in 2Ds. Now it's 3D, it's on the Frost engine. The graphics of this game is amazing. If you look at this, they updated the graphic just a little bit. There's a lot more physics and breakable objects in the game. You'll see a lot of environmental effects going on, different varieties of maps. Some of the original maps made it back in the sequel, some are new, but the thing is the originals now got touched up. It's taken over by the zombies. As the story goes, what happened is the zombies actually won the war and now they've taken over Suburbia and it's now known as Zomburbia. But the game has this very vibrant, colorful, cartoony look to it, so it's all fun and good for every ages. And not only that, the skybox in this game also looks very nice. The background, the backdrop looks amazing. Sometimes I just stand there and I just had to look at the distance and look at the surroundings and enjoy the environment and the immersion of the game itself. But the other thing I noticed is that this time around they added some levolution to some of the maps. If you don't know what levolution is, it's EA's way of saying environmental changes. Not as great as Battlefield though. For example, some of the maps there will be a huge robot walking around, or you'll see a map where there's going to be a sandstorm or there'll be a snowstorm, and we need a lot more maps like that. Another surprising fact is the game had a very smooth launch. Also, I didn't crash when the servers came up. No problems at all. I was able to join the game and play real quick and get into the action. Aside from the graphics, there's a lot of tweaks to the sequel of the game. The gameplays that you'll see is mostly the same from the original. You can actually import the original stuff into the game if you have unlocks, items, skins, etc. So those will carry over to the game except for those special promotional characters like the Chester, Chompers, etc. They didn't come to the game, unfortunately, or the Barry pea shooter, but they brought over all their other original characters, so you can actually import them through the mailbox and bring them over to this game. It's one of the loyalty program that they offer, and if you hit the max level in the original game, you can actually unlock the special legendary character variant from this game, which is a unicorn chopper. And that's a very nice idea because it gives people the incentive to go back and play the original. And it takes a really long time to level up to maximum level. I mean, some people have been playing this game for a year and hasn't even reached that level yet. But for those of you that do, hey, that's good for you. It brings back life to the original. I jumped back into the original one and I saw that people were still playing it also, which is very, very cool. Now, aside from the gorgeous looking graphics, new maps, and also the way they are interactive and how they look, also, this time around, the game has changed the way the menu has worked. Before, you can actually log in, you'll see an interface, and you can just play the game. Unfortunately, you cannot play this game offline anymore. It has to be online, so you have to connect to the EA servers. But once you do, you'll be entered into a thing called a Backyard Battleground. Now, the interesting part about this is that it's actually a hub. The hub is split between two sides, the zombies and the plants, and depending on where you start, you can do missions and quests for them. That's right, there's missions and quests in this game now. The Backyard Battleground hub is huge. If you leave the Backyard Battleground, you'll notice that there's secret chests all over the place, collectibles, quests to do, you can talk. There's also mini games on the side, pea shooters, there's defense games on the side also. You can repeat the quests once you do them. Now, of course, the quest itself is a campaign, and the campaign itself, it wasn't great. It wasn't fantastic, and it didn't have a flow to it. It was just completely random and didn't offer anything in-depth at all. So hopefully in the future we'll see a better story mode. Majority of them aren't too different from each other. It's just to hold the captured ground, build up some plants or build up some defenses, and pretty much try to survive. And that's pretty fun because you can play it solo or you can play it online with friends. There is, however, one mission where it reminds me of Battlefield, where you shoot from a flying van. Along with that, the co-op game is pretty nice. If you have friends on your list, you can invite them to your Battleground and play with them. Unfortunately, I don't know many people in Origins, so I can't really invite them to my game to play with, but I can play it solo and summon NPC players to help me out. Now, along with people being able to join your game and doing some of the quests with you, there's also the Garden Ops. Garden Ops is back in the game. It is where you defend also from hordes of enemies coming at you on a map where you can actually search up games. And it isn't as popular this time around because it was much harder to find the games, or it's not tied to the servers because you have to choose which region you're playing from. But again, if you wanted to, you can play the game solo. Along with the nice single-player open-world-ish map that you can now explore and uncover lots of goodies, there's also other changes to the game that was very significant. Now, aside from the nice single-player map that you have now that you can explore and unlock goodies, and the game modes itself, there's also other significant changes that are very important. I'll go over them real quick just to get you up to date, but one of the significant changes is how the quest system and the coin system works. Before, in the original Garden Warfare, you can actually buy coins. Now you have to earn them, because I tried to buy it and I looked everywhere. You can't buy it anymore. You have to earn them, and they're higher price value too. Like in the original, it would take like a couple thousand coins to unlock a sticker pack. Now you need 75,000. What are sticker cards? They're basically packs that you buy from the vending machine in the game that unlocks new character variants. From one class will stem another class, either shooting fire or toxic, shooting faster. They have different abilities, and it adds a variation to the classes in the game. So it's very cool. And also unlocking items, because customizing your zombie or plant with items and other goofy stuff is pretty fun. Now, aside from the significant change to the coin system, the XP system and quest system is also revamped. The quest system is now done on a daily basis. It switches out when you complete the majority of them, and you can earn stars and also multiplier. Now, how does this work? What are stars for? Stars are for unlocking chests around the map, or you can actually turn them in for XP. It also unlocks new places and gets you into mini games. So there's a lot of things to do with the stars. They get you more coins, more items, etc., and it's all hidden throughout the map. And there's no way you can unlock all of this in a day, because it's going to take a very long time to explore everything and unlock everything. As for the multipliers, they play a very important role for how you earn XP, because this time around XP is the main focus of the game, leveling your character, earning that XP multiplier up the way to 2, and also unlocking new abilities. Not the abilities that your characters come with, but the perk abilities. Faster health regeneration, faster reloading, a little bit more damage. It really depends on what variation of class you're playing as. The game leveling system is also different. Now when you level up to a level 100, you go back and you level again and you become elite status. So the level repeats itself. It doesn't hit 313 like before. It now re-promotes you every time. So when it promotes you, you get a cool looking plaque on your name, which is what it does really. And the other part is that when your character hits level 10, it doesn't stop there. You have to promote your characters 5 times, and from each promotion you'll earn new abilities each time you level up to level 5 and level 7. So you have to do it 5 times before you reach maximum level, and each time you do so, you earn a bit of coins for your keeps, and you can use it to unlock sticker. Now, the other thing that's very interesting is the fact that you have to do it for every single variant. It's not going to happen once anymore, like before in the original Garden Warfare. For example, if you play pea shooter, you expect all the pea shooters to be level 10, etc. once you reach level 10. No, you have to promote every single variant yourself. You have to put in their abilities, and you have to earn it, and you have to play through it. So talk about gameplay. It's not going to take you weeks to do this. It's probably going to take you months. Not only that, there are tons of variants in this game, and along with the original returning ones. Before in the game, you only had 4 classes to choose from, and each of them with different variants. Now we have 7 classes. That's right, this game now adds 3 new classes for each side. Each of them very interesting. They all carry different varieties of powers now to be used in Battlegrounds. Along with that, there are some tweaks to certain powers in the game. For example, I remember the engineer used to be able to send a drone up in the air. Now that's a new job for a new class. By the way, I was talking about the engineer on the undead side who used to set up the teleporters. Now the plant side also has the same. The undead engineer is replaced with a turret he can sit on, and that's right when I said that the plant has their own engineer, because the roles in this game are also reversed now. In the popular graveyard capture mode, or the turf wars, the gameplay has always been about the plants defending against the zombies. Now the zombies can defend against the plants. They have their own units they can summon, while the plants have their own units they can summon to attack. The interesting part is that they're both the same units. They just look different, but they go in the same box. So if you know what plant unit does what, or how it defends, you can actually summon them on the zombie side. And same goes for the plant side for summoning units to attack. Now keep in mind, all the abilities I'm going to tell you about the classes are going to be the main abilities that you get default, because there's going to be others that you can unlock as you progress in the game. Anyways, onward to the new classes in the game. For the undead side, you have Captain Dreadbeard, who is the guy that summons the drone now. His first ability is to summon a drone which looks like a parrot, and the parrot can actually call in airstrikes or do attacks from the air. He also has the ability to sit on a cannon barrel and shoot at enemies. Aside from that, his final ability is the ability to go inside a TNT barrel, slowly creeping up on his enemy or taking less damage and doing so before exploding and killing anything around it, along with a shotgun as his main weapon of choice. The next new class on the zombie side is Super Brains. Super Brains is the first melee hero in the game. He has a wrist laser, but most of his punches are his main weapon because it hurts. It can take down enemies in 3 to 4 hits. But for those that likes to be ranged, wrist laser. And he also has a floaty jump. His abilities are pretty cool, which makes him one of my personal favorite. He has a heroic kick, which he can use to stun his enemies and get in close range. He also has a turbo twister. The turbo twister is where he spins around, damaging everything around him. It's basically AoE damage that ticks, so anything around the turbo twister will start spinning and you'll do damage to them. Great for a lot of those clumped up crowds. His last and final move is probably one of the coolest default move, is the Super Ultra Ball. And we all know that even though it's called the Super Ultra Ball, whatever it is, it's a Hadouken. It's a freaking Hadouken. He gets a Hadouken. He Hadoukens from the air. He can Hadouken from the ground. He can Hadouken anything. And it's funny to watch people explode when you shoot this ball at them from across the screen. Last and final new zombie class is the Imp and Mech. The Imp and Mech, I called it Mech instead of Z-Mech, is because his default mech is a Z-Mech, but as you unlock different variants, he gets different mech and different abilities. The Imp is like a wafer on the battlefield. He's a glass cannon. He dies in about 2 or 3, 4 shots. It depends on what enemy you're facing, because he only has 50 health, but he has dual pistols that he can use. He can double jump and hover in the air. At first, when you play this character, you don't think he's very strong at all, because most of the time in the battlefield, you'll get shot down and enemies will probably kill you first because you're easy targets. But the Imp has some great abilities himself. It's also basically another AoE attack that shoots and spins around and shoot all the enemies or plants around him. Now, the thing about this is he can still get shot down before he can even finish the whole spinning around shooting thing. So you have to use it sparingly on things that you know are dying already or taking the hits. So you can definitely do some assist hits with it. The other thing is, thankfully, he has a grenade that sends the plants into the air and stuns them for a little bit. They lose their ability to use specials, but they can still shoot the Imp, but they can't aim underneath their foot. So the best thing to do is to lift them up with the grenade ball and then spin around under their legs as you spin around and damaging everything around them. The ball itself has a very, very large radius when it actually captures enemies in them, or enemies running into the radius of it. Aside from that, his final move is called the Robocall. He can actually call a mech in, and this move takes a while to happen because over time it's going to charge up. As long as you don't change character, or if you die, it's still going to continuously charge up. And once it's charged up, depending on your variant, you call down a mech. It's either a lobster mech or a dragon or even the Mech Z, which has a little Mass Effect N7 logo on it, which is really funny. But the thing about the mechs is that it gives the Imp more health, it gives the Imp more damage, and protects him a lot more. Now, all the mechs themselves have different main weapons. It could be a laser or a plasma bolt machine gun type of thing. But the main thing is that they all have the same ability, and that's the eject button. In case you're about to die, you can eject and self-destruct the mech. Now, the thing about this is that you have to hit the button twice to eject. So that's a very nice safety button for you. But overall, they all have different abilities. For example, the Mech Z has a way to shoot a missile or to use a wrist melee weapon. Now onward to the new plant side units. One of the first new unit is the Citron, which is an orange. The orange is a really interesting character because he has 3 abilities. One of the abilities is to roll into a ball called Citron mode. In Citron mode, he rolls around kind of like in Metroid and knocks over zombies. The cool thing about it is he can speed up during this ball and run around in circles, and enemies will try to aim at him, but they can't really shoot at him. And it's great for distraction because he is a pretty tanky unit. The Other move is called Impeach. Impeach is when he throws a grenade and the enemy gets slowed down, they get damaged in the radius, and also gets locked out of their abilities for a little bit. The final ability for the Citron is an energy shield in the front of him, which can soak up some damage. And his main gun of choice is a laser beam. The next plant unit is Colonel Corn. Colonel Corn is exactly what he sounds like. He's a walking corn. The first ability he has is the Butter Barrage. Butter Barrage is done by throwing a grenade. You'll see smokes come out of it, and of course butter will come from the sky and rain down on the enemies. The next ability is called Chuck Shot, where he heats up his arms and shoot popcorn out of it, or do an explosive blast that you'll see little popcorns fly out of it. His final ability is called the Husk Hop. The Husk Hop is where he jumps sideways in the air and shoots down everything below him. So it rains down on your enemies, and if you do it at the right angle, you can really take out some enemies with this. Also, it can get you some nice distance or get you away from enemies when you need to, because he is really slow when he moves, and his weapon of choice is shooting corn out of his hand like a machine gun. The final class for the plant side, and I left this as a final because I'm going to get in depth into this, is one that needs to be fixed right now because it is OP as hell, but some might argue that it's not. But if your team is winning, half your team as roses, or if the top players you see every time are all roses, or majority of them are all roses, then there's a huge problem because the rose is that unit. It's basically rose versus zombies right now because of this. So hopefully there'll be a fix for it. Your biggest crowd controller. It has abilities that do just that. The first ability is Time Snare, which slows down the enemy and locks them out of their powers. They can't do anything, and they can barely move in this state. The second ability is called Goatify. Goatify is an ability where you turn your enemy into what it sounds like, a goat. But the enemy can still ram, sit around and fart, and do other damages, but not as threatening because a goat is a goat. You can just shoot at it and kill it. The final ability for the Rose is the Arcane Enigma, where the Rose goes into this kind of arcane mode, ethereal mode, where she can get away really quickly, move faster, and also take less damage from the enemies. The enemies can still see her, but she can get away or do AoE damage, sacrificing the energy bar on the bottom to do so. Her main weapon of choice, which is really powerful depending on the variant, is a homing type of attack. And it's a very easy character to master. If you point the reticle at the screen and it turns red, then whatever in it is dead because it homes in on this target. Depending on the variant, for example, I use Toxic, so I just hold it down, point at the screen, and if it turns red, it's going to definitely hit your enemies. And if they're low in health, they're going to get toxic and die. Or if they're not low in health, all I need to do is jump around and weird certain maneuvers, and they can't shoot at me straight because all the other classes require you to aim. So therefore, I'm always melting faces with this character, and I'm pretty sure a lot of majority of you out there are also doing the same. So this character definitely needs a little bit of a tweak to make her less overpowered. The moves are cool, the crowd control is great, but there's something needs to be done on this character because right now it's Rose versus zombies. That's pretty much all the new classes for now, guys. We don't know if they're going to add more later on, but there are a lot of variants to unlock and a lot to promote, so you're going to have to get to it, and abilities to unlock also. But aside from all the rares and super rare variants that you can unlock in the game, there are also legendary variants. Now, not everyone knows how to unlock all the legendaries right now, so we're still waiting on information on that. So as people play the game, ways to unlock them will be uncovered, but for now, not every one of them is known. They also look cool and have their own special abilities that they come with. Aside from the new characters, I also noticed that there are new type of damage in the game that enemies take. Before, when you do crit hit, it really hurts on the enemy. You can kill enemies in 4 shots, etc. But now, the hits are now toned down a little bit and tweaked. There are also armor hits that you can do on enemies, because if enemies are riding, let's say, the rodeo cannon or in the mech, they take armor damage instead, and this armor keeps them alive a lot longer. So they take less damage because they're taking armor damage. And that's pretty much all there is to the new Garden Warfare. It's really fun to play, there's a lot of new content in the game to unlock, but there are also problems with the multiplayer and etc., which are small problems. For example, the Rose needs to be fixed, and the other thing is that how multiplayer game still has that same thing where the wait between the matches are way too long and people leave it, because when you're going back to the backyard battleground, it's faster to join another game from there. So it ends up being lopsided on the teams a little bit before people join, or sometimes people don't join. So that's another problem with the game, but it isn't too bad, and there isn't too many cons with the game. The game runs pretty great. It uses the same engine from the original game, which is the Frostbite engine, but definitely improved upon, because you can definitely see some improvement to this game itself and a lot of changes. The other thing is that people have been asking me, this is a $60 game from EA, I don't trust them, etc. No worries, you can actually return the game if you don't like it, which is one of my favorite things about their policy. So if you want to have some fun, check the game out. If you want to wait a little bit for the sale, do that, because the game is $60, so it is a hefty price tag for some people, but it is definitely worth it with the amount of content it comes out with and the multiplayer. It's just good fun, and that's the reason I am definitely keeping this game without returning it, because fun is what is important. Am I right or am I wrong? Anyways, thanks for watching, guys. Don't be too serious on this game. It's just a really fun game to play. It's not a serious competitive game. If you want it to be competitive, hey, that's all you, man. Anyways, thanks for watching, guys, and game on.